If you are trying to win Balatro by forcing flushes, full houses, or four of a kinds, you are falling into the biggest trap in the entire game. We all have been there. You build a masterpiece of a deck. You reach Ante 7 or 8. You need 100,000 points to survive. You hit the discard button 3 times in a row, desperately praying for the one missing spade to finish your flush. And the game gives you absolutely nothing. Your perfectly crafted run instantly dies, and you blame bad luck. But it wasn't bad luck. It was bad math. When you build up Balatro, your brain defaults to a real-world casino mindset. You naturally think the hardest hands should win. But today, I am going to prove to you why playing traditional poker is mathematically a terrible idea. I am going to show you exactly how to completely remove RNG from your runs, break the game's economy, and effortlessly crush the hardest stakes using absolute worst, most pathetic hand in the deck, the high card. Throw away your casino mindset. Complexity is killing your runs, and it's time to build a real engine. Let's get into it. Let's start with an autopsy. We need to look at a run that, on paper, should have won easily, and figure out exactly why it died. Take a look at this setup I had in Ante 7. I had the gluttonous joker, giving me plasmold for every club played. I had the onyx agate, adding even more flood mold for every club. To top it off, I had the crafty joker, feeding me a massive 80 chips every single time I played a flush. If you are a new player, you look at this joker bar and you think it is a mathematical masterpiece. It is entirely designed to obliterate the blinds with clubs flushes. And it did. Right up until the big blind of Ante 7. This is exactly where the poker illusion reveals its ugly face. In this specific round, the game simply decided to withhold my clubs. I used my discards. I dug deep into my deck, and I found absolutely nothing. Because my entire scoring engine was dependent on a specific 5-card combination. I was mathematically paralyzed. Look closely at the final hand I was forced to play to try and survive. A full house. In real-world poker, a full house is an incredible hand. But in Balatro, I played a full house that only contained 2 clubs. Suddenly, the illusion shatters. My gluttonous joker did almost nothing. My onyx agate only triggered twice. And my crafty joker? Completely dead, because a full house is not a flush. My score barely moved. The required blind was nowhere in sight, and the run was instantly over. This is the ultimate danger of complex hands. It introduces a mechanic called Zero RNG. If your jokers require specific cards to function, you are playing the lottery every single round. And in Balatro, the house always wins, eventually. To beat Balatro consistently on higher stakes, you have to remove the lottery from the equation entirely. You have to look at the game engine and realize a fundamental truth. Complexity equals inconsistency. The more cards you need to draw, the higher the chance of a failure. Ask yourself, what is the one hand in Balatro that you never have to draw for? What is the one hand that is physically impossible to miss, no matter how terribly your cards are shuffled? The high card. If you look at the base stats of a high card, it is pathetic. 5 chips and ×1 multiplier. But here is the secret that professional Balatro players understand. On higher antes, your base hand stats simply do not matter. The only thing that matters is the synergy of your jokers. When you commit to a high card strategy, you completely change how you evaluate the shop. You stop buying jokers that say, if played hand contains a flash. Instead, you look for passive scaling. You look for jokers that reward you simply for playing the game, regardlessly of what physical cards are actually placed on the table. If this shift in perspective is already helping you understand the matrix of Balatro a little bit better, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button right now. My goal on this channel is to break down complex roguelike mechanics into simple, actionable strategies, and joining the community ensures you never miss a deep dive. Also, let me know in the comments below, what is the absolute worst string of RNG you have ever had in a run? Let's vent together. Now, let's get back into the math. Now, before you boot up your next run and start violently spamming hardcard on Ante 1, we need to talk about the most common mistake players make with this strategy: the pivot. You cannot play high card from round 1. In the early game, before you have any jokers, those base stats of 5 chips and ×1 multiplier are mathematically too weak to beat even the smallest blinds. You will die immediately. For the first 2 or 3 antes, you must play Balatro normally. You play flashes, full houses and straights. Why? Because those complex hands have high base stats and allow you to survive the early game and, most importantly, generate money. You are using the traditional poker hands as a stepping stone. The pivot happens around Ante 3 or 4. This is the moment you find your first major passive scaling joker in the shop. Once you secure a joker that gives you flat multipliers or massive chips without requiring a specific hand, you immediately stop digging for flashes. You switch tracks, you let go of the casino mindset, and you start playing the absolute minimum required to trigger your new passive engine. Let's look exactly how this passive scaling works in practice. Welcome to case study 2, the junk engine. In this run, I decided to build a machine around playing high cards, and the synergy I found was absolutely ridiculous. First, I needed a flat multiplier. For that, I had Supernova. Supernova adds its multiplier based on how many times you have played your current poker hand during the entire run. Since I pivoted to playing high cards, this number scaled beautifully and automatically. Alongside it, I had Ride the Bus, which grows your multiplier infinitely as long as you don't play scoring face cards. Neither of these jokers care about suits or straights, they just provide raw power. But here is where the true mechanical exploit comes in. To get my chips, I use the square joker. The square joker gains a permanent +4 chips, but only if you play exactly 4 cards. At first glance, this seems to counter a high card build. So what did I do? I played a high card, but I deliberately selected 4 garbage cards from my hand every single time. The Balatro engine is incredibly literal. It scores the highest card, triggering my high card synergy for Supernova, but the Square Joker still sees 4 physical cards being pushed forward, so it grows its permanent chip pool. It is a 200 IQ mechanical loophole. You are essentially feeding the machine trash, and it's giving you pure points in return. But there is another massive reason why the high card strategy is objectively superior to traditional poker hands. And it has to do with the game's ultimate run killers, the boss blinds. In Balatro, boss blinds are specifically designed to destroy complex setups. If you spend 45 minutes carefully building a deck around playing clap flushes, all it takes is running into the clap boss blind, which debuffs all clap cards, and your run is instantly over. You are mathematically countered. But when you play a high card engine powered by passive jokers, you unlock a literal cheat code. You become immune to almost every single boss blind in the game. Let's think about the math. If a boss debuffs your cards, these cards don't score their base chips. For a flash player, that is devastating. But for us, if the game debuffs my high card, I lose exactly 5 chips. Who cares about 5 chips when my passive jokers are adding hundreds of thousands of points? The jokers trigger regardlessly of the card status. What about the Eye? The boss that says no repeat hand types allowed. With a high card build, you can just play a pair or a 3 of a kind using junk cards. Your passive jokers like Ride the Bus still trigger, your score still explodes, and you bypass the boss mechanic entirely. What about the Mouth, where you can only play one hand type? Perfect! We only ever play one hand type anyway. By simplifying your engine, you are not just fighting the RNG of the card draw. You are stripping the boss blinds of their power. You are forcing the game to fight you on your own terms. Finally, this strategy solves the biggest resource management problem in the game: discards. Because I was digging for flashes, I never needed. Because I wasn't digging for flashes, I never needed to use my discards. This made my next joker, the Banner, incredibly powerful, giving me free chips for every discard I held onto. But the absolute MVP that carried me to the end was the Bull. In my previous video on this channel, I talked extensively about how saving money without a scoring engine is a massive trap. But the Bull flips that rule entirely on its head, giving you +2 chips for every single dollar you currently have. Because I was playing high cards, I never needed to spend money aggressively rerolling for specific suits. By the time I reached Ante 8, I had managed my economy so flawlessly that the Bull alone was giving me around 500 flat chips per hand. Let's watch the final showdown against the Ante 8 boss. The blind requires 200,000 points. If I was playing flashes, I would be sweating right now. Instead, I don't check my suits, I don't use the discard. I simply select 4 random low-value number cards to feed my Square Joker, and I hit play. The Bull and the Square Joker provide a massive chip base. Supernova and Ride the Boss multiply it exponentially. The first hand usually drops around 170,000 points. The second hand effortlessly cleans up the rest. Zero RNG. Zero stress. Just pure, cold, mechanical consistency. The next time you butt up Balatro, I challenge you to fight your instincts. Stop treating the game like a casino and start treating it like an engine builder. Simplify your strategy, embrace the passive scaling, and let the absolute worst hand in poker win you the game. If you want to dive even deeper into Balatro's mechanics, click the video on screen right now, where I break down exactly when you need to stop saving your gold. Thank you so much for watching. This was the first mistake. See you before the next one.